Darling, sit with me. Let the world hush for a moment, and hear my heart as it beats with words that can no longer be sealed behind polite smiles and embroidered invitations. I know you've been dreaming of our wedding since the day we realized love was not just something we shared, but something we became. You saw white lace, towering cakes, chandeliers dripping with light, and 1,000 eyes watching us promise each other forever. But darling, the wedding is not what you think anymore, not in the way we were taught to believe it must be. We've been sold a story, haven't we? One with aisles and archways, rice tossed like blessings, and photo albums that smile even when the hearts in them no longer do. We were handed a script with, "I do," at the end and no guidance on what to say when life turns, "I do," into, "Do I still?" I used to want all of it, the grandeur, the show, the perfect day captured in perfect lighting. But somewhere between choosing floral arrangements and seating charts, I realized I was more obsessed with the event than the eternity. You see, my love, I don't want a performance. I don't want to spend hours crafting table decor when I should be crafting a life with you. I don't want to go into debt to impress relatives I haven't spoken to in years. I want to run barefoot with you into a life where we define every step. I want vows whispered in a quiet dawn, not shouted across a hall echoing with applause. I want sincerity over spectacle. I want us, raw and unedited. Remember when we stayed up all night talking about dreams? About building a home filled with music and slow dancing in the kitchen? That's the wedding I crave now, the wedding that happens not in a single day, but in every single moment we choose each other. Our wedding isn't the climax, it's the prologue. It's not a crown we wear, but the seed we plant. And I'd rather plant it with honest hands than decorate it with borrowed traditions. I don't mean to dim your dreams or trample your joy. If the dress matters to you, if the ceremony still calls your name, I will stand by you in the aisle, hand in hand. But I need you to know, the wedding, to me, is not about silk linens or trending hashtags. It's about weathering storms and choosing each other even when the spotlight fades. It's about vulnerability and forgiveness, not Instagram-worthy perfection. Somewhere along the way, I saw couples who had their dream wedding but forgot to build a dream life. They danced under starlight but slept in silence months later. I don't want that for us. I want something resilient. Something that bends but doesn't break. A bond forged not just in a single day's joy, but in years of understanding, compromise, and deeply rooted love. Our love doesn't need an audience, it just needs truth. Darling, I want us to write our own script. Not one handed down through traditions that no longer serve us. What if we eloped under a waterfall or said our vows while the sun melted into the horizon? What if we invited only the souls who've walked with us through fire, not the ones who merely expect an invite? What if we stopped trying to impress, and started trying to express what we truly are? I know it's hard to let go of the fairy tale. You deserve beauty, you deserve magic. But magic isn't always wrapped in gold. Sometimes it's in the way you say my name after a long day. Sometimes it's in the silence between words that still feels like home. That's the kind of wedding I want. One that doesn't end when the last guest leaves, but one that begins every time we open our eyes to each other. We can still dress up, if that's what your heart desires. But let the fabric we wear be meaning. Let the music be our own rhythm. Let the altar be the place we meet in the morning, brushing shoulders in the bathroom mirror, promising again and again that we're still choosing us. That, my love, is a wedding no one can manufacture, and no moment can replicate. So if your dream still involves the bouquet toss and the father-daughter dance, say so. I'll be there. But let's not mistake the celebration for the commitment. Let's not put more thought into centerpieces than into communication. Let's promise to spend our time building a union more breathtaking than any ballroom can contain. Because, darling, the wedding is not what you think anymore. It's not a performance. It's a revolution of love, a quiet rebellion against the scripted, the superficial, the expected. It's us, promising to be real, to be flawed, to be forever. And I wouldn't trade that for 1,000 perfect weddings. Not when I already have the imperfect, priceless gift of you. The evening air was heavy with silence, yet the scent of jasmine lingered, daring to dance through the corridors like a memory refusing to be forgotten. I stood alone by the window of the palace library, the old mahogany shelves towering above me like ancient witnesses to a secret they were too loyal to ever tell. The candle beside me flickered violently, as if echoing the storm of emotions I had kept buried for far too long. My queen, your absence turned every page in this sanctuary into a battlefield between memory and madness. I read no words that night, only the traces of your touch in the air, only the echo of your laughter tucked in between the spines of books I could no longer. I remember how you used to linger in that very corner, your fingers gracefully trailing the edges of the Quran, your eyes searching for solace as though you were trying to unlock the divine answer to our forbidden longing. And though we never dared to speak of love beneath the watchful eyes of tradition and title, our silence wrote poetry the walls will forever recite. You were a mystery to everyone else, poised, quiet, disciplined, but to me, you were a storm dressed in elegance, hiding galaxies in your glances. The world saw a princess sculpted in marble, I saw a woman burning with life. The night you left the rose garden without saying a word, I knew something had changed. Your footsteps, once confident and light, had become hesitant, as though the ground beneath you were no longer trustworthy. I should have run after you. I should have abandoned duty, pride, and the fear of being exposed. But I froze, imprisoned by centuries of royal decorum, by generations of kings who taught us that feelings are meant to be felt, never shown. That was the night I truly became a prisoner of my own heart, the night I chose silence over salvation. But love, it turns out, is insubordinate. It climbs the palace walls, it enters through the cracks in the stone, it nestles into the shadows of ceremony and waits. And you, my queen, you are the only one who ever saw through my facade. In your presence, I was not Sheikh Hamdan, Crown Prince of Dubai, heir to legacies and lands. I was simply a man, flawed, hopeful, hungry for your voice, your glance, your belief in me. I would have traded every title, every poem, every breath of royal privilege just to feel your hand in mine in the open daylight. They speak of fate as something carved in stone, but I have learned that fate bends for those who fight for it with love. When I look back on the day we met, the soft murmur of the fountain behind us, the sun caught in the silken threads of your scarf, I no longer believe it was coincidence. You were sent to me not to be conquered or possessed, but to awaken the part of me that power and politics had long silenced. Your eyes taught me rebellion without words. Your presence taught me that kingdoms are not only ruled from thrones, but also from the quiet heartbeats shared between two souls who recognize each other beneath layers of identity. Even now, when I walk through the great halls where we used to exchange glances that could set fire to oceans, I see you in every chandelier's sparkle, hear you in every harp's vibration, feel you in every breeze that dares to enter this fortress of restrained desires. I write this not as a confession of weakness, but as a proclamation of truth. I loved you from the moment you turned away from the crowd to look at the stars instead. You, who chose silence over spectacle. You, who taught me that love can be loud even in its quietest form. There is a particular ache that comes from wanting someone you are not permitted to desire. It lives in the bones like an ancient chant, humming in every breath, every decision. I've carried it in meetings with diplomats, at ribbon cuttings and parades, even during royal decrees. They think I pause out of contemplation. No, I pause because a part of me is still waiting for the sound of your laughter to return. I pause because my heart still remembers what it was to be full, and it is grieving the loss of its queen. You once told me that your greatest fear was becoming invisible in a world that only sees crowns and silks. But my love, you were never invisible to me. In 1,000 rooms filled with admirers and nobles, it was only your voice that found its way through the noise. You are more than your titles, more than the customs that caged us. You are the very reason I began to question everything I had been taught. You are the reason I now believe that love, not bloodlines, is what truly makes a ruler great. And so I began to rebel, quietly at first, in the smallest of ways. I left poems in the garden fountain. I scheduled our meetings at dawn, when the world was still asleep and less likely to judge. I memorized your favorite verses and quoted them in public speeches, disguised as homage to ancient poets, but always meant for you. Each act of defiance was a declaration that I would not live a half-life while the full flame of you existed just beyond reach. I wonder sometimes if you knew, if you felt the earthquakes I tried so hard to hide beneath layers of responsibility. Did you notice how I avoided eye contact in court, only to seek you in the reflection of every polished surface? Did you sense the prayers I whispered not for glory or victory, but for just one more moment in your presence? I was always louder in silence than I ever could be in words. That was the cruelest irony of our story. I wrote verses that shook nations, yet I could never summon the courage to say, I love you, to the only one who truly mattered. But this is me saying it now. Without hesitation. Without the veil of metaphor or duty. I love you. I loved you then, I love you still, and I will love you until the final flame in my chest fades into the desert wind. My queen, I am no longer afraid. If this confession costs me my crown, then let it fall, for it was never the crown that defined me, it was you. And to be remembered as the man who once loved you boldly, even if only in the shadows, is honor enough for me. So wherever you are tonight, whether you're watching the stars alone or hiding your heart behind royal obligations, I hope this message reaches you like a letter cast into the wind, because I've exposed everything. From the moment we first met, I began unraveling. And though I kept the world fooled with a smile and a throne, the truth is, my reign began the day I loved you, and it ends with these words. Come back to me, and let us write the rest of this love story without fear. So I write to you, again and again, in pages and in dreams, in whispered prayers and in lonely tears. I call across time, across silence, across every distance life has dared to place between us. And though the world may move on, I remain. Still. Steady. Waiting. Because once, you called me yours. And until you do it again, darling, I am still